All right, Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Maheen Sohail, and today I want to talk to you about designing for the future. I'm a lead product designer at Facebook. If you have any questions, we can maybe do some questions and answers at the end, but there might be always people that have some comments or want to continue talking. So please feel free to talk to me on Twitter. I love talking to people and connecting. So this is a great opportunity to meet more of you. So staying connected with friends and family is a really important part of our lives. And we know this today more than ever because of COVID-19, we're facing unprecedented challenges in connecting with others, right? We want to talk to our friends and family, but because of our distances and because of social distancing, it's becoming really hard to connect with people. But these walls can be and are being broken down by some of our innovative technologies. Some of these are powered by artificial intelligence, by augmented reality, and virtual reality. And in the future, these will allow people to connect in even more immersive ways. So in today's talk, I want to share with you why it is important for designers to be involved in the future, and why it's important that we start thinking about that future today. So if we think about how humans have communicated over many, many years, it's really interesting to see that people are trying to find more and more ways to be more and more immersive and more connected. So for example, in the Stone Age, people would draw to communicate across language barriers. Eventually, people started writing letters so they can talk to people over distance. Television was used to broadcast nationally and globally. And today, phone and video is being used to communicate with people that are living further away from you. And there's a new wave of connectedness that I call shared experiences, which is around building memories and connecting with people by doing something with them. And things like VR enable you to do that at a distance really well. So as we look at how we've progressed in our ways of communication, it's really interesting to see that we're trying to make it more and more immersive, and the future will only be more immersive than today. But something to keep in mind is that these new formats took a long time to become normal, right? Today we're in the photo and video age, and it might take a few years before we get to VR and AR. But just because the technology is not common doesn't mean designers shouldn't be involved starting today. So my name is Maheen Sohail, and I'm fascinated by how technologies can help us create a responsible and connected future in problems and ways beyond our imagination. My journey started in video games, mostly because I grew up around siblings as well as cousins who played FIFA all day, and I wanted to be a part of this really cool way where people connect and over video games. And I was really excited to be a part of that movement. And when I joined the video gaming industry, I realized that there's not any, honestly, UX designers that are helping build video games. And this was many years ago. And when I was working with these engineers building these games, I realized they didn't really know how design can help the video games be better. So my responsibility became teaching and helping these developers understand how design can be helpful for a format and a medium that is not traditional to apps, but could even be console. After that, I started working in virtual reality. So I came to Facebook and I wanted to understand how can we build this technology to be better for use cases that this technology can be good for. But the technology was really bad when I joined. The VR headsets were not good enough. They barely worked. It was hard to see the value of it. They were really expensive, or they just had bad battery life. So we just created a lot of demos and try to understand how can we make this technology better. So fast forward to 2020, and virtual reality headsets are really good. It's like a really powerful computer in this really compact VR glasses that enable you to be really immersed in whatever you're doing. However, even though the technology is really good, all the developers are building for this headset are games. It's just another console that is used for gaming. So my goal as a designer became to help these teams understand the use cases beyond gaming. The technology is so amazing that we can use it to connect people. For example, what would it feel like if you were hanging out with someone in this space? Could you make new friends? Could you meet your therapist? Could you do all these things in this space unlike before? And today, I'm now working in artificial intelligence, so I've moved on from VR. And what I'm fascinated about with artificial intelligence is that it is trying to understand the world around us. And that can enable a lot of amazing use cases. But again, this is another one of those situations where people think this technology is only technology, and the people that I work with, they also really fail to understand how can they take these technologies that they're creating and actually make them useful for the user. And that's fair, right? Because when you hear the word artificial intelligence, you might also think robots taking over the world. That's what I used to think too. But in reality, artificial intelligence is already being used all around us. For example, artificial intelligence translates the messages that you get in Messenger or in other services. And it's also enabling experiences for people that couldn't experience some things before. So for example, for users that are blind, how will they use apps like Facebook? So artificial intelligence can actually translate images for them. For example, if their cousin posted a photo of her wedding, or a friend posted a photo of a wedding, using AI, we can translate that photo for these people. So for example, the artificial intelligence might be able to translate and say, in this photo, there is your cousin and she is smiling and she is wearing a red dress and next to her is her mom. This is enabling a different kind of experience for people that couldn't experience these things before. And artificial intelligence can also enable a lot of different kinds of creativity things. So this is a personal project of mine, not at all anything to do with Facebook. I just do this on my side time. It's called Rangeen Pakistan, and it's an Instagram account that I've made where I'm converting old black and white photos of Pakistan into colored versions using artificial intelligence. So for example, if there's this photo of Jinnah, I've been able to convert that into a colored version using an artificial intelligence machine learning model. Same with this image, right? And so you can start to see how AI can help with even creativity things. And this is just the start of the things that we can do with AI. So every day, technological advancements are made when it comes to these spaces. And it's interesting because these amazing technologies are being made, but when they come to the public, they're shown in really weird ways because these people don't know how to tell stories most of the times. So for example, you might have seen deepfake videos circulating on the internet where you can make one person look like another person, and that stuff is really scary, right? But what the scientists are trying to do is they're just trying to show the technology that exists, but the messaging of it is really not helpful for people because it makes them afraid of the future. And I think this is exactly why designers today need to be involved in these spaces so we can help craft better narratives, so we can help craft better messaging. So today, I want to share 2 use cases or case studies of how design thinking has helped some of these technologies and projects that I've seen at Facebook. So the first thing you need to do when it comes to designing for the future is you want to understand the core human need. What is it that people actually need or want? So for example, today we know social presence is really important, right? And how can we enable that for people? The second thing you want to do is you want to understand the technology. What makes it special? How does it work? How can it be improved? What are the limitations? What are the terminologies in this technology? How can I learn about this technology? All of these questions will help you understand more about this technology. So the first case study is on artificial intelligence. And the example I want to share is a product called Portal, which is a smart video calling device by Facebook. And It's a really interesting device because it allows you to talk to people in a very immersive way, even though it's just a video calling experience. So before I share the case study, I'm going to share the video so you know what the product is.
Life moves so fast. You can miss some of those very special moments just by missing a day. Look at that portal. It's a little window, but it opens. It's like the world opens up. And I guess that's what portal means.
This is shame. You two look cute together, Sam. Gross, thanks.
It's really like you're right there with him. You feel a part of.
From. Not do that 3 months ago and look, you're crushing it.
I want them to know that my grandmother and my grandfather were present in our lives and they loved us.
I think it's time for you to show us a signature move.
That's all you do, and then you pick up your leg.
It's a whole new world.
So as you can see, in this technology, what's happening is that there is a smart AI camera and it's looking at the things happening in a scene. And it's trying to understand what to actually focus on. So it will recognize objects in a scene and it will recognize people in a scene. And when people move, it knows to move the camera where the people are moving to. So this is what is the smart thing about this camera. Now, technology is interesting because scientists can put together some algorithms to build this experience, but they don't really know how to make it feel. And who knows cameras better than filmmakers? So we talked to some filmmakers who helped us improve the technology. And we asked them, how do they use cameras and how will they use cameras in situations like these? So after talking to filmmakers, we realized that they use subtle movements to produce a very natural and intuitive camera experience. This means that we can also try to bring in those slow pans that filmmakers use and try to get that into the algorithms that we're building. Filmmakers also shared that if they film in landscape mode, they will tend to capture more of the environment, like a wide angle shot. But if they were filming in portrait mode, they will focus on the person and their expressions. And these are things that an algorithm or a research scientist or an engineer wouldn't really know how to build. So we took these learnings and we added them to our experience, which really helped us make a good product. And these proved to be more effective than our simple mathematical strategies that we started with. And it's enabled people like Lauren, who's a playwright, to communicate with people from home when it comes to work. She's a playwright. She wants to talk to other theater people that she communicates with, but she can't physically go sometimes, so she can communicate from home. And these are the kinds of opportunities that it's enabling. The second case study is on virtual reality. It's on a product called Facebook Horizon, which is a VR world where you can play and create and hang out with people. So I'll also share maybe half of the video to explain what the product is.
Beyond our world, there's another world. And it's right here, on my face. Welcome. This is Horizon. Think of me as your guide / self-appointed spokes avatar, here to show you around. You know, Horizon is filled with possibilities. You can play stuff, make stuff, fly stuff. Wow, really love the stash, Stuart.
What up, Stuart?
Wait, I want a mustache. Horizon isn't about rules or limits or pants or people telling you not to fly an airplane while drinking your fresh ground, fair trade, French press morning coffee through a curly straw. Isn't that right, Debbie? Mm-hmm. It's about getting out there, trying new things, making your mark, making friends with an Australian named Mark.
Actually, I'm from New Zealand. Yeah.
And you can even build a world of your own, like laser tag moon landing. Or this islandy place with these cutie patooties. In Horizon, the world is your lobster.
Isn't it oyster?
That too. So come, join us. A never-ending, ever-changing world beyond your world is waiting. Debbie gets it.
So I worked on this product last year, and it was really fun to work on. But one of the main things that I was focusing on was helping build the avatars in this experience. Now you can see that avatars is a big way you experience this virtual environment, but it took a long time for us to go from those blue blobs in the top to something that looks like you. And we wanted it to feel a little cartoony because it's really hard to get the perfect real life representation. But we still wanted to make sure that we move it closer and closer to how you look as a person. And as a designer, my role was to help ensure that people can easily make an avatar that looks like themselves. To ensure we do that, you can start with using a real life photo of you so we can suggest an avatar that looks like you. But at the same time, a designer's role is to understand how can we provide a broad range of things that can help you really create things that can be more inclusive. So all types of hairstyles, all types of skin tones, different types of eyebrows. Beyond the facial look, we also want to think about interactions. So as a designer, some of the things I had to do was understand, okay, well, you can't physically high-five someone, but what would it feel like if you high-fived someone? What would that sound like? How can we replicate the feeling in VR? In the future, I think beyond these facial expressions and hands and gestures, we want to think about full body. Because in real life, if you see someone far away, when they're walking, you know it's them because of the way they walk or how tall they are. So how can we replicate that in VR to make it even more immersive? And once we nail that in the future, I think we can enable experiences like these where you can play soccer with a friend and it can feel like you're actually playing with them rather than some random avatar. So this is just the beginning. There are so many unanswered questions about the future, and we really need more designers on board to help build it. And I think it's interesting because one of the most important things why I think designers should be involved is because we need to think about how can we balance innovation with safety. For example, one thing that I'm really curious about is in the real world, you really have full control over the things you share with people. You feel really safe because you are in control of what you tell people. However, in virtual worlds, one small mistake can really put you in dangerous positions. So how can we enable people to feel safe in these environments? So if there's one thing I want you to take away from this entire presentation, it's that emerging technologies are helping redefine how we connect with others. And today you can start learning about these technologies just by looking at what's happening in these industries, following people on Twitter, learning about these technologies, even if you're not actively involved in them. And understanding that designers need to be involved in these discussions, believe that it is the future, and start thinking about when this thing becomes more common around us, what are some things that you would want to have an impact on, and how can you help that future as well? And that's it. So I'm super excited to have some of these discussions with all of you in the future. And if there's time, I'm happy to take any questions. And I'll stop screen sharing.
Thank you very much. So first of all, people really like your talk, Maheen. A lot of thumbs up, and some of them really like your illustrations, and some claps already coming in. So thank you very much for the talk. I could not fully get the question, but there's Nargis Zahra. She asked that I'm really interested in the work you're doing, the perfect intersection of technology and design. However, I find it very difficult to explain it. Can you please help me describe it to someone? That how would you describe this intersection of work on technology and design to someone? That's the kind of a question I didn't fully get it. Maybe you got an idea.
Yeah, I think so. The first thing is, I think if you just think of UX design, there's like that really popular diagram with the 3 circles, and it's like, I think it's like technology, and then there's like business, right? And then there's design as like the intersection of that, and you're helping bring all these people together. So the first thing is to just understand how to explain design, because even that's hard. And I think the way we want to make sure how we explain design is that designers bring together technologists, technology, they bring together businesses, the people problems, and we're helping create experiences after considering all of those things. So that's like the most important thing. After that, you can start to, I think the other harder thing to explain is what is artificial intelligence? What is virtual reality? And I find that hard as well. And that's why presentations help, because I can use visuals. But I think the best, simplest way to explain that is just by giving examples. So with AI, the example I give is translating messages. With VR, the example you want to give is think about changing the world around you and feeling immersed. That's the best way to explain that, to be honest.
So, we always talk about this discussion that what comes first, technology or a problem. Sometimes we have this push towards from technology, and that it can help us in solving problems. The problems we didn't even thought that we can think we can solve in a particular fashion. And then this technology out there, it works as a prime and help us to sort of solve that problem. Sometimes we have a very specific problem, and then we look for a technology or even build a technology to solve that problem. And in many of these scenarios, the people who are looking for a technology are not the one who are making it. And then the one who are making a technology are not the one who are solving a problem. So, so there's a big gulf or departure between the two. While staying at Facebook, you might be lucky or maybe unlucky, depending on the way teams work, that both things are there. So you can push the boundary of AI because there's an AI team who's working on doing great stuff. You can push the boundary on infrastructure, and then you can also solve problems. So how do you look at the design process in the context of Facebook, how these things work?
Yeah, so I guess I'm lucky in the sense that at Facebook, I get the opportunity because I have these people that I can contact to talk about the technology. But it's actually much harder than other design teams I've been in, because these teams don't really understand why design is here, right? For example, I joined the AI team about a year ago, and when I look up what an AI designer is supposed to do, nobody knows. And when I try to talk to AI researchers, they don't really know how I can help them. They just want to do their research, right? So that's exactly what drives me personally, is when people, and that's what I was trying to get to with the example I gave about working at EA, is that I think designers should go to spaces where there's a lot of friction in design coming in, because years ago there was friction in design coming in even in apps and websites, but today that's happening in other industries. And I think as designers, people start to trust us once we show the value that we bring. So you said it really well. These teams are usually thinking technology first, right? But as designers, we know that we need to start with the problem first. So if I can show that, then these teams will start reframing how they're thinking and will want to involve design. So I actually think it's more of a surface to a future design team by us sort of teaching and communicating today.
Excellent. So my last question, I think this also relates to one of the questions people have asked. So I've seen in the past few years that this whole idea of human-centered AI is emerging a lot, and it is becoming a new field in itself. Although this human-centered AI was there from day one, because anytime we try to bring technology or try to make technology a little smarter, we want it to be human-centered. But now it's not only about trying to be human-centered in terms of on a philosophical level, but also thinking about how would you prototype for AI products, and how would you build early concepts, and how would you test AI products, and how would you bring the ethic. So, and then this is a complete, not only a mindset change, but also a complete framework change, So the way you will engage in this whole new activity where AI is playing a fundamental role in the product design. So do you think, are there any frameworks out there which can help the young designers in thinking about AI? Or you think this is a time when new frameworks would come from different companies and then they'll get mature over time? Where do we stand, on that end?
I think right now it's interesting because AI is all around us, but there's not enough out there frameworks wise. I actually think young designers have the potential to even do it themselves. There's all this open source models that are out there. Like, for example, the Rangeen Pakistan thing I'm doing, it's a model called Deoldify that I found on Twitter that this AI researcher was talking about, right? And I was able to easily use it for my own creativity. And by using it, I'm learning, for example, that the AI model is really good at detecting skin tones, but not good at detecting different cultural differences. So by just trying more of these things, there's another program called Runway ML, where people that don't code can use some of these models to just play around with experimentation. And I think each individual, that young people that are playing around with these things, can start to put out some early thoughts and start those discussions. I think the companies are also so early in these stages when it comes to, it's not mature enough in terms of design for us to share our design thinking for it. Design is still super early in these stages, but engineers and researchers have been doing it for a very long time. So I think we're still a little early comparative to VR, personally.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So thank you very much, everyone, for your questions on the chat. We are going very active on the chat. Some of you